I'm Tom, and this is Real Six String. So today's lesson, we're breaking down the entirety of the amazing song, Blackbird by the Beatles. So I've tried to break it down into each of the different sections, but also break down the different fingerpicking patterns and the different chord shapes as well, to give you a little bit more of a way of compartmentalizing the different ideas rather than seeing it as one big blob. So I've broken it down best I can. Try and follow the hand positions, as they will have a huge impact on how you play it and how you move forward. So the first thing we need to know is where our hands go. So the right hand can stay in exactly the same place for the entire song. So first off, we need our index finger to be the only one to play our G, middle finger to be the only one to play the B, and then our ring finger to be the only one to play the E. And then our thumb here is going to start off on our low E, on our sixth string, but it is going to move between the sixth, fifth, and fourth. So between the E, the A, and the D, depending on where we need to be. First off, we're going to have our ring finger on our left hand sitting on the third fret of our E, on our low E there. And we're going to learn finger picking pattern 1, because there's only really 2 finger picking patterns in this entire song. So in order to simplify it, if we break them into 2, they'll be easier to understand. So the first one is that we're going to start off by picking with our thumb and our middle finger, followed by our index finger. Okay, and that is literally one of them. So from there, we're going to do thumb, middle finger. Then we're going to move in our left hand. Our index finger is going to come to the first fret on our B, which means our thumb in our right hand is going to come to the 5th string. And exactly the same, thumb and middle finger followed by your index finger. Brilliant. And then in your left hand again, middle finger is going to come to the 2nd fret of the A, and your little finger is going to come to the 3rd fret of the B. So in your right hand, everything's exactly the same. Thumb's on the A string, and you're picking thumb and middle finger, followed by your index. Excellent. So that's your first finger picking pattern, and we'll give that a quick run through slowly to get these chord shapes into our hands. So we've got perfect. And then the next one is finger picking pattern 2. So we're going to bring this shape up here. So we're going to slide our middle finger up to the 10th fret, and our little finger is going to come to the 12th fret. So that's middle finger's 10th fret of the A, little finger is on the 12th fret of the B. And then finger picking pattern 2 is going to go 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so it's slightly different, but if we remember our hand position, it shouldn't be too tricky. So we've got thumb and middle finger again to start, followed by your index finger, followed by your middle finger, followed by your thumb on its own, followed by your middle finger again, and followed by your index finger. And once again, the rhythm of that is going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It's a slightly simplified way of thinking about it, but it's the exact same rhythm you need. So it's just going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so if you can practice the 2 of those, and especially if you need to now spend a bit of time if you can get used to those, and especially practice them slowly, get them into your muscle memory rather than can get a little bit too frantic because you want to speed it up, but just keep it slow. Get used to those 2 positions first, and the rest will be really easy. And the final part about that introduction there is that here you want that slide to be a part of it as well. Before you want the slides, you want to keep those pressed down as you move them up the neck as well. Okay, so that's the entire introduction, those 2 bits together. And then for the first verse, we do that first bit that we've just learned one more time again. And then we're following on this exact same shape but we're going to bring our middle finger down to the 3rd fret, still on the A, and little finger 5th fret on the B. And we're doing that first finger picking pattern again. And then there's a very slight change here because we're moving our middle finger up to the 4th fret, and then our index finger here is going to come to the 3rd fret on the E string, which is going to mean picking with your thumb still on the 5th string, but now with your ring finger on the E. Still followed by an index finger on the G though. So once again. Okay, so it's a little bit of a workaround with your different fingers. Can be a little bit harder to get used to in terms of what you're changing around. But at the same time, if you keep those positions in both hands, you then have to do very little movement, which will make everything a lot smoother. Okay, so that first one, we're going to do exactly that again, but moving it up by a fret. So our middle finger once again is going to come up to the 5th fret on the A, little finger is going to be on the 7th fret of the B, and then you're going to pick in thumb and middle finger, followed by your index finger. Then the exact same movement, so middle finger comes up again, and then index finger is now going to be on the 5th fret of the E, so that means picking here with your ring finger again, followed by your index finger. Excellent. Let's do that one very slow run through before we move on. Excellent. And then from there, once again, our middle finger is only coming up by 1 fret. So it's gone 3, 4, 5, 6, and to 7. And then little finger is going to be on the 8th fret of the B. And we're going to do finger picking pattern 2 one more time. So it's going to be 2 and 3 and 4. And then we're going to move our middle finger down again by a fret. So now that's going to be on the 6th fret. So we're just moving in the opposite direction. Then finger picking pattern 2 one more time. 2 and 3 and 4. Excellent. And then we're going to do what we've just done up, but moving back down again. So we're going to move this exact shape we've got on our left hand down by a fret. So our middle finger is now going to be on the 5th fret of the A, little finger on the 7th fret of the B, and then finger picking pattern 1 again. Excellent. Then we're moving the middle finger down by a fret again, which is where your index finger takes over on the 3rd fret of the E. So it means right hand once again, thumb and ring finger, followed by your index finger. Brilliant. Then thumb comes down by another fret to the 3rd fret in the A, and little finger's going to take over on the 5th fret of the B. So then thumb and middle finger. And then this one, however, is going to be finger picking pattern 2. So we've done our, and then here, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Then we're going to move our little finger down by a fret. And again. Then we're going to move both of those down by a fret. And then we can take over with our ring finger on the 2nd fret of our B string. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. And then our index finger can take over on the 1st fret of the B, but now we need our thumb to move to the 4th string, but everything else stays the same. And then back where we started from, ring fingers coming over to the 3rd fret on your low E, which means your thumb is now coming back to the low E as well, and then everything else the same. So thumb and middle finger. And there we are. That takes us up to the end of the first verse. I'll do a quick run through of the intro and into the first verse before we move on to the interlude. And then for the interlude, we're moving back up to a very familiar shape. You should start to recognize a lot of these now as we move through. So our middle finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the A, little finger on the 5th fret of the B, and we're doing finger picking pattern 1. And then we're moving this down to another very familiar shape. So your middle finger's coming down to the 2nd fret on the A, and then your little finger to the 3rd fret on the B. Then finger picking pattern 1 again. And then we follow that same way down we've just done. So your ring finger there on the 2nd fret of the B, and we're doing finger picking pattern 2. And then once again, following exactly the same pathway down, index finger 1st fret on the B, which means your thumb has to come to the 4th string, and the exact same finger picking pattern 2. And then once again, ring finger comes over here to 3rd fret on your low E, and your thumb then has to come back to the low E as well, but exactly the same finger picking pattern 2. And that there will take us through the introduction, through the first verse, and then the interlude. And then the second verse, which is what is next, is exactly the same as the first verse we've already learned. So it really helps to focus on what we've already done, and the rest of the sections will start to fall into place quite easily. So we have a repeat of the exact same verse we've had for verse 1 as verse 2, but for this one there is no interlude, and we jump straight into the chorus. So for the chorus, after we've done the at the end of the second verse, we're coming up to that familiar shape where our middle finger needs to be on the 8th fret of the A, and your little finger on the 10th fret of the B. Finger picking pattern 1 all the way through here. Then we're moving middle finger down again, but it's been accompanied by the little finger as well. So the middle finger's now come to the 7th fret, and your little finger to the 8th fret. Finger picking pattern 1 again. And then we're moving exactly that shape down by 2 frets. And then we're moving the middle finger down to the 3rd fret, and your little finger down to the 5th fret. So once again, try and get used to that movement. And those shapes there as well. And we move exactly that shape down by 2 frets, and we do finger picking pattern 2. And we move that back up by 2 frets, and we do finger picking pattern 2 again. And then we do that whole part again. So your middle finger starting off on the 8th fret on the A, and your little finger on the 10th fret of the B. And that's followed again by moving that entire shape down by 2 frets and doing finger picking pattern 2. Except this time, we're now taking over again with our ring finger, 2nd fret on the B, and everything else stays the same. And then index finger to the 2nd fret, to the 1st fret on the B, which means that your thumb has to come to the 4th string. Excellent. And then we have another exact run through of the verse, as it's got no lyrics to it, and it's not really seen as a verse. It's more of an interlude moving between, but on the guitar part, it's exactly the same as the verse that we're used to, finishing up here. And then we have another run through of the exact chorus that we're used to. And then following that chorus, that ends up here with our thumb on the 4th string. We launch back into what is exactly the same as the introduction, but then when we reach up here, it's slightly different. So we have that, which you should be very familiar with by now. And when we come up here, we do that same picking pattern 4 times. And then we do something which is effectively the first finger picking pattern, but it will seem a little bit weirder. So we're just doing your thumb and middle finger. So we're doing the thumb and middle finger which is just your 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then it's your thumb and middle to finish on beat 4. And then we let that ring for about 5.5 beats, and then we play it again in order to slide straight back into the next part. So the next part, the next interlude, is very, very similar. So we're starting off exactly as we would, finger picking 1, then to the next chord, exactly as we're used to by now. And then we're coming up to this next shape here, which is the 3rd fret on the A and little finger on the 5th fret of the B. Still finger picking pattern 1, and we're bringing that down again to the chord we were just on. And then your ring finger coming down to the 2nd fret of the B. And then from there, index finger comes to the 1st fret of the B, which means in the right hand, our thumb has come to the 4th string, and we're doing finger picking pattern 2. And from there, we launch exactly into our verse again. And we do another full rendition of the verse, and that's the one with vocals, which is verse 3. Verse 3 ends exactly where the other ones do here. And then the last thing we do is the outro. So from there, we're coming back to this exact same shape where our middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the A, little finger is on the 5th fret of the B, and we're doing finger picking pattern 1. And then we're bringing that down to another very familiar shape where our middle finger is on the 2nd fret, little finger on the 3rd fret. And then ring finger comes down again, 2nd fret on the B. And then index finger comes down as well to the 1st fret on the B, but which means your thumb comes to the 4th string. And then back to that initial chord, finger picking pattern 2, which just for the record means thumb to the 6th string. And then we're going to do that exact same bit again. And then we finish off on the first chord with a pick from our thumb, index finger and middle finger at the same time. And that for today is our entire video. Thank you so much for watching. I had a great time making it. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you could hit that float and subscribe button, that would make a huge difference, and I greatly appreciate it. And if you liked the video, if you could leave a like on it, that would be absolutely fantastic. Other than that, if you've got anything you're not sure about or anything you want to see in a future video, just let me know down in the comments, and I'm very, very happy to help. And other than that, very best of luck, happy practicing, and I'll speak to you in the next one.